In ancient times, our ancestors believed that fire was a mystical force controlled by gods or even spirits. Some revered it, while others feared it completely. Eventually, as time progressed, humanity learned to understand fire. It became a tool for progress, something that we tamed, something that we could use. It became an essential part of our civilization. But imagine a world where that never happened, where myths and falsehoods kept us in the dark from discovering the truth about fire. Misinformation is like that ancient fear. Specifically in the COVID-19, misinformation prevented progress in the times of crisis. It prolonged the pandemic and it spread like a wildfire. But how many people picked up on it? It was hidden in plain sight. Today, I want to explore what misinformation is, why it spreads so easily, the impact it causes by using COVID-19 as a case study, and most importantly, what we can do about it. First, what is misinformation? Well, let's define it. Misinformation is false or inaccurate information often shared unknowingly. Everyone shares misinformation at least once in their lifetime. It's unavoidable. But where does this misinformation come from? Well, the main driver is social media. With social media promoting content that is often sensational and allowing users to post anything without verification or fact-checking. Secondly, politicians play a major role in the spread of misinformation by spreading lies to change stories and support their side of the argument. Unfortunately, even well-intentioned individuals spread misinformation because of the misinterpretation of scientific data. Now that we know where misinformation comes from, let's talk about why it spreads so easily. Misinformation is a major problem, and we know the sources of it. So why isn't it so easy to deal with? First, cognitive biases found in humans. Cognitive biases are things like confirmation bias. Confirmation bias is a tendency to believe things and to interpret things as truthful if they support our current and existing beliefs. Because of confirmation bias, when we see a piece of evidence, if it's likely to support what we already think, then we're likely to believe that it is completely truthful. Secondly, social media. Social media amplifies these cognitive biases by creating algorithms that promote sensational content. They provide content that explores likes, clicks, comments, and more, all to keep us engaged on their platforms. We are stuck on them. In fact, a study done by Kozrieva et al. In 2020 found that YouTube recommendations often lead people to more explicit, exploitative, and radicalized views because of the content shown on them. Social media plays a key role in the spread of misinformation. Unfortunately, we as individuals do too. Because in the tsunami and tornado and storm of information that is the internet, it's impossible to discern every source, every idea, every speech that we see from fact, from fiction. There's so little we can do to stop the spread of misinformation as it is now. So now that we understand where misinformation comes from and why it spreads so easily, I want to challenge you to see if you can identify 3 claims about COVID-19 misinformation. I'll say 3 statements. Raise your hand if you think that they are false. As a quick test, let's do this one for an example. The first statement is, I have a girlfriend. Please raise your hand if you think it's false. Oh, that's a lot more than I expected. If you raise your hand, you would be correct. The second statement is going to be over COVID-19 now. COVID-19 contains microchips in their vaccines that track you. Please raise your hand if you think that this is false. If you raise your hand, you would be correct again. Let's try something a little more believable now. The COVID-19 vaccine was made too quickly to be safe. Please raise your hand if you think this is false. That's a lot less hand raises, okay? If you raised your hand, you would be correct. Although COVID-19 was made quickly, it still went through rigorous testing and safety protocols as all other vaccines do before being approved to send out to the public. And now the final claim. Oxygen masks reduce your oxygen levels. Please raise your hand if you think this is false. If you raised your hand, you would be correct. Masks are designed to allow for normal breathing and don't take away from your pre-existing oxygen levels. There is no harm in wearing a mask. Good job, everyone. We successfully identified 4 false claims today. But now, let's look at something a bit more serious. Misinformation spreads so incredibly easy. It's everywhere on the internet. But why does that matter? What impact does that cause? Let's take a look at COVID-19 and the misinformation surrounding it. The most evident and obvious example is vaccine skepticism. Vaccine skepticism prevented and caused millions of people to forgo getting vaccinations. Millions, not just in the United States, but across the world. Because of this, the pandemic was prolonged. It destroyed trust in public institutions and delayed recovery efforts. It led to millions of hospitalizations, illnesses, and even deaths. Socially, the impact was even worse. It deepened divides between families and communities. It split apart best friends because of misinformation. Misinformation that could have been prevented. COVID-19 misinformation comes in many shapes and sizes, and its impacts are tremendous. We've looked at so far on public health, then socially, but most importantly of all, economically. Economically, the impact is astronomical. Because of the prolonged and delayed recovery efforts from COVID-19, billions of dollars were lost from the global economy. Millions of small businesses were shut down, and thousands of jobs were lost worldwide. Because of these jobs lost, the impact still remains today. COVID-19 still lingers. The effects still remain. With COVID-19 still being such a prevalent force in today's world, and its impact still being seen today, and it may seem like there's little that we can do about it. If you think that, you're absolutely incorrect. I'm going to tell you what we can do about COVID-19 now. First, we must follow certain guidelines. We need to teach media literacy to students and communities. This can be in schools, in households, or even your local neighborhood. Even your local neighborhood. Everyone has a responsibility to inform themselves. Ask questions like, who wrote this? What's their expertise? Where was this published? Has it been peer-reviewed? And most importantly, why was this published? What was the author's purpose? If you can answer these questions, you can determine whether a source is credible or not. That's not all you can do. After media literacy, we need to hold social media companies accountable for their actions. As we've seen so far, social media companies are simply the cause and a major spreader of misinformation. We need to hold them accountable for their actions. We need to make sure that they know that we want them to improve fact-checking, remove misinformation and flag it better using the resources they already have. Social media companies have responsibility and need to be held accountable. But we have to remember, misinformation doesn't affect everyone. It also impacts us as an individual. We, as an individual, have the need to take care of misinformation Instead of taking a look at our Aunt Cheryl's Facebook page and spreading her posts, we need to remember, your Aunt Cheryl is not the CDC. Public health institutions exist to protect us. They're there for our safety. Yet, because of COVID-19 misinformation, we've repeatedly forgotten them, lost trust in them. We've prolonged the pandemic. We've avoided vaccinations. And worst of all, I still haven't gotten a girlfriend. Because COVID-19 and its effects still linger, there's steps we must take to address misinformation. It's not just a threat, it's not just about lies. It's about our threat to solve future problems. First, we must improve media literacy. Second, we must hold social media companies accountable for content that's posted on their platforms. And most importantly of all, we need to be able to look at our sources ourselves and fact check them. It's up to us as an individual. Even if your Aunt Cheryl still believes that garlic knots are the cure to cancer, we may not. COVID misinformation is a problem that needs to be stopped. Thank you.